Title: Sovereignty Under Duress, the Maduro Precedent. Summary statement: the January 2026 U.S. military operation that captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and brought him to the United States to face long-standing criminal charges crystallizes a pivotal shift in international relations. When a powerful state chooses to exercise force on foreign soil, legal indictments and domestic court authority become instruments of power rather than true constraints on the use of force. Although U.S. domestic law allows federal courts to try a foreign national regardless of how they were brought into custody, that legal authority does not equate to legal justification under international law for using military force against a sovereign state without Security Council approval or legitimate self-defense. A point underscored by international legal experts and UN authorities. This episode raises urgent questions about the endurance of the modern rules-based order, the meaning of sovereignty when subjected to coercive pressure, and the precedent set when military action is cloaked in judicial pretexts. This content is brought to you by Bobby Giggs. Promote your brand here and reach a wide audience across platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow the links in the description to get started. Let's be clear about what just happened. This wasn't a legal breakthrough. It wasn't justice finally catching up, and it wasn't some sudden moral awakening. This was power deciding it no longer needed permission. For 100 years, the international order pretended to run on rules. Sovereignty mattered, borders mattered. Even when they were violated carefully, with excuses, with coalitions, with paperwork thick enough to slow the act itself. That restraint mattered, not because it stopped power, but because it forced power to hesitate. That hesitation is gone. A U.S. court issued an indictment: domestic, procedural, familiar, narco-terrorism, conspiracy, charges on paper. And that paper became the pretext, not for extradition, not for negotiation, but for removal. A sitting head of state was taken, not by international mandate, not by multilateral consensus, but by capability. This is the shift. Law didn't constrain force. Force operationalized law. The indictment didn't authorize the action. It explained it after the decision was already made. And once that line is crossed, the implications are immediate. You don't need occupation anymore. You don't need boots on the ground forever. You just need one decisive act that rewrites incentives. Remove the head. Create fear. Let the rest govern themselves accordingly. That's not sovereignty. That's sovereignty under duress. And here's the part people miss. International order doesn't die when it's violated. It dies when violations stop pretending to be exceptions, when power no longer asks, no longer waits, no longer hides. This wasn't idealism losing to realism. This was restraint losing to convenience. Smaller states see it instantly. So do rivals. So does everyone watching the precedent form in real time. If domestic courts can be projected outward by force, then law becomes asymmetric, selective, a weapon available only to those who can enforce it. That's the new signal. Sovereignty didn't collapse, it was subordinated. And once legality follows power instead of limiting it, the rules-based order doesn't disappear. It remains, as language, as branding, as a story told after the outcome is already locked in. That's the Maduro Precedent,